So hello and welcome back, and let's talk about how much protein you should be having if you want to grow muscle. Now this applies mainly to beginners, so I'm going to dissect it and I'm really going to try and break it down for you. Now what I'm going to talk about in this video has been collected from some of the best guys out there on the internet, you know, the likes of Jeff Nippard, Dr. Mike Israetel, and I've actually linked their videos in the description below, so make sure you check them out. They're absolutely fantastic guys, especially when it comes to training. They are really on top of their game, so go and check them out. They talk about nutrition, they talk about all sorts of things. Now this video is part of my Nutrition for Beginners guide. Now over time I'll be adding videos to that playlist where we'll be covering carbohydrates, fats, pre-workouts, all this sort of stuff, but that's obviously going to come with due course as this channel grows. But if you've got anything you'd like me to cover, leave them down below and I'll try and do my best to make a video. Now just a disclaimer as well, this video is very much aimed at the beginner, at those who are looking to improve their physique a little bit and don't really know where to start. This is not aimed at those who are seasoned professionals that know what they're doing, and especially if you are on steroids or enhancers or whatever you want to call it, you will have a completely different protocol. Especially those who are competing and so on, they'll also have a different protocol because their proteins are going to be slightly different just leading up to a show and so on. Okay, so this is the internet. There's a lot of conflicting information out there, so even what I'm telling you, take it with a grain of salt and double check with somebody else, and always do your own research and do your own homework before you accept anyone's information. Okay, so how much protein should you eat? Well, it depends. As always, the answer always depends. The rough guide and the rough number I recommend for people to start off with is 0.8 grams per pound of body weight to 1 gram per pound of body weight. There are studies out there that have shown that you can have 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. I would recommend start with 0.8 and then build your way up and see how you get on, because the more protein you have, the more this is going to impact the rest of your calories, like your carbs and your fats. Whilst having more protein helps with satiation levels and so on, that might not necessarily be a good thing if you're bulking, because it's about getting as much food down you as possible. So if you're constantly feeling full, you're less likely to eat. So as an example, I weigh 230 pounds. My daily intake should be about 190 to 230 grams of protein every single day, staggered over 4 to 5 meals is also a general recommendation that I tend to make. Now with that said, that varies a little bit based on how your body is, if that makes sense. So for example, if you have slightly more body fat, you can get away with a little bit less. So you can get away with 0.8 or something like that. But if you are more on the leaner side, you should probably aim for about 1.2 grams even, or even start with 1 gram. So you should always aim for the higher end, because it is much harder for the body to maintain muscle than it is for the body to build muscle. So that's kind of why I recommend those different ranges. Okay, so you know how much protein you should be eating, but is there such a thing as too much protein? From what the studies that I've read and what Jeff Nippard and Mike Israetel have talked about, there really isn't anything. There are some studies out there that have fed people as much as 2 to 3 grams per pound of body weight, and it's made no difference to their kidneys, to their health and so on. Obviously, if you are a healthy individual, if you're not, these numbers don't apply to you potentially, and you might have to go and investigate that further. Now, one thing to keep in mind, try and get your protein from as much natural sources as possible. It's too easy to go to the shops, just buy protein powder and just ingest that. Get it from natural sources, make it as part of your diet. If you're dieting, make it the main part of your meal. So start with your protein and then structure your carbs and your veg around it, rather than starting with your carbs or with something else. So always prioritize protein, and then you're going to find it is much easier to get your protein target. Now I was trying to keep this as simple as possible in order to give you a good starting point. 1 gram per pound of body weight is a perfect place to start. You can always experiment, and ultimately it is about experimenting. It's about having fun with it. It's about trialing. It's about, say, pushing it a little bit more, having a little bit less, and seeing what suits your body. But for the beginner, I recommend 1 gram. That is the perfect starting point. And as I said, and then you can kind of just play around with it as and when, and up it or down it, as long as it fits your calories. And I hope that's helped. Next thing you can do is maybe watch this video over here where I talk about how to improve your RDL if that's something you're struggling with, because the hip hinge is a fantastic exercise and I absolutely love it to building the posterior chain. It should be a mainstay of every workout. So thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next one.